Stealth in Dark Souls 3 is practically non-existent. Enemies will aggro at insane distances. This is bullshit. Combine that with how many enemies there are in each area, then a stealth run of Dark Souls 3 seems like a ridiculous idea. Even the few stealth items that do exist are absolutely useless when you realize how many enemies just ignore it. So, beating Dark Souls 3 without aggroing enemies is an impossible challenge run. No wonder it's never been done. Unless... My first obstacle will be getting to Gundyr. To that end, I choose the Assassin because it starts with the Spook spell, allowing my footsteps to be silenced. Something that will be invaluable for this run. Well, if the first ever enemy I encounter didn't see me immediately, that is. I tried a few other methods of approach, but it seems that the aggro radius of the first ever enemy is just impossible to sneak past. So, how is it even possible to do this run? If I can't sneak past enemies, I'll just have to kill them before they notice me, leaving me with only one valid class choice: the Thief. Essentially resorting to a stealth archer build not even 1 minute into this run. How original. By keeping my distance and headshotting enemies, I can get to the first bonfire. Of course, this strategy isn't perfect. Arrows have damage fall off based on how far it goes. Since I need to keep that distance to avoid getting spotted, finding the sweet spot between distance and damage requires trial and error. After 10 minutes of that, I finally arrive at the tutorial boss. While I fight Gundyr, I'd like to quickly go over the rules of this run because it's way more complex than my other runs. First, bosses do not count as enemies for this run. They will be treated as normal. Second, for the sake of my sanity, every time I aggro an enemy, I can either reset from the last bonfire or backup save. All this does is help me not go insane. It doesn't change any gameplay aspects of this challenge. Third, enemy aggro is applied only to aggressive enemies. Friendly fire damage and non-combative mobs do not count as aggro unless you attack them and they aggro. Even if an enemy loses aggro, it still counts as aggroing an enemy, and if an enemy is killed at the beginning of a detection animation, it does not count as aggro. Basically, backstabbing an enemy as they begin to turn around. Fourth, no cheating or summoning people. Pretty self-explanatory. Lastly, there will be a lot of weird scenarios in this run that can't fit into these rules, and will be addressed individually as they pop up. Turns out, when you try to stealth a Dark Souls game, weird shit happens. So please keep an open mind going forward. After that, I buy some arrows and grab everything useful around Firelink Shrine to prepare myself for what's yet to come. After all, getting to Gundyr was pretty easy. How much worse could the next area be? On the main path, there's 2 patrolling hollows. The hollow soldier can't be killed with a headshot due to increasing health, a problem that will become worse the longer this run goes on. Using firebombs brought from the Shrine Handmaiden also won't be enough, so I need to sneak past him. Something that is easier said than done. However, if I'm fast enough, I can theoretically backstab him without aggroing him. The real problem is this lamp hollow. He has a much higher aggro radius than other enemies, so I need to keep my distance. Luckily, he can be killed with a headshot. In the next area, there are 3 hollows, but only one will aggro if you're sneaking. This guy seems to be a scripted event, and he will always aggro when I pass a certain threshold, despite him pretending to sleep. No matter what route I take, he seems to aggro. However, by going around, you can get behind him and attempt to backstab, which also won't work because he is a sitting enemy. But by using a 2-handed fully charged heavy attack, which somehow doesn't aggro to other enemies in the room, you can kill him. Still can't believe that worked. Going even further down, there's a crossbow and a soldier hollow. Both of them are on alternating patrol patterns, so the only way to get past is to kill the soldier hollow. But since his patrol stops at the edge of the doorway, you can't kill him without aggroing the crossbow archer. The only way is to either find or create a gap in their patrols where the crossbow hollow isn't looking forward and the soldier's in the doorway. but by distracting them with arrows long enough, I can desync their patrol path, allowing me to individually backstab them. From here, there's two paths I can take. Going forward leads to a mass of undead soldiers that can't be killed or sufficiently distracted. The only way is up, which also has a mass of undead. Although, this time they will be killed by the dragon when he comes down. The dragon itself is a scripted event and will occur when you cross a certain threshold. Whether or not this counts as aggroing an enemy is a bit of a gray area since he just attacks the area indiscriminately. There's not really any way to tell if he actually aggroed or if he just really hates the floor. So for the purposes of this run, so long as I don't take damage from the dragon, it will count as a stealth kill. Okay, so that's a lie. Despite what Fextra Life tells you, these dragons actually do have an aggro radius, and behave beyond just a scripted event. So here is how to actually get past the Lothric dragon without aggroing him. As we can see here, by triggering the scripted event then running all the way back here, he won't spew fire, meaning he hasn't aggroed. Probably. I mean, it still is hard to tell, but by testing safe range, the closest I can get to him without him spewing fire is here, doing a grand total of 1 damage a hit. This guy has over 2,000 health, and I have 99 arrows. Well, what about if I use the longbow? By standing in the same position, I do roughly 6 damage a hit. Not nearly enough. However, by dropping arrows on the ground near the bonfire and resting, I can have 600 arrows at my disposal, giving me more than enough leeway room. So, theoretically, yeah, you can kill the dragon without aggroing him. However, when you do that, he won't spew any fire, meaning these guys up here are still alive. And that's a different problem altogether. So that leaves the alternate method. You see that? That's called profit. 5 souls an arrow, 20 souls per kill. That's a 15 soul profit per kill. Since I can theoretically grind for souls, the question is, how much souls would I need for firebombs to properly one-shot these enemies? Currently, I don't do that much damage at base strength for the thief, but bring that up to 20, and now I'm getting there at a little over 100 damage. Bring that up to 30, and it's close, but not enough for the soldiers. Change that to 40 strength, close, but not enough. But 50 strength, okay, I thought that would have been enough. 60 strength? 70 strength? And nope. Well, I mean, it does have somewhat split scaling, so what about 20 dex on top of 70 strength? That seemed to do the trick. But don't worry, that only cost 776,000 souls to do. You'd have to kill these hollows outside almost 52,000 times, but that's a small price to pay for a challenge run, right? Yeah, no, I'm not grinding, and I'm not using Cheat Engine to give me the stats required either. In case you didn't know, when I do these challenge runs, I go into them with little to no preparation. I solve problems as soon as they come up, however, this also results in moments where I learn something later in the run that would have been helpful earlier. The TLDR here is I trusted Fextra Life and thought the Lothric Dragon's aggro radius couldn't be measured due to being a scripted event. That's just genuinely my fault. And by the time I tested it further, I had already finished the run. Meaning the rest of the run will be proceeding after I killed the Lothric dragon the wrong way. However, this doesn't actually affect the possibility of this run, since if I went the firebomb route, I would have had more than enough stats to make the rest of this area easy. So anything going forward would not only be possible if I avoided the Lothric dragon, but also much easier. Meaning I also inadvertently made the run even harder on myself. With that out of the way, please enjoy the rest of the video. Up ahead, a Lothric Knight is on patrol. So long as I wait him out, he won't be an issue. However, past him is an assassin enemy looking directly where I need to go. Headshotting him won't cut it, and whatever the solution is, I need to get to the bonfire before the Lothric Knight completes his patrol and comes back. But by using arrows to shoot the furniture, I can clear a path towards the next bonfire without aggroing any enemies. All of that just to get to the next bonfire. Well, it definitely could have been worse. Speaking of worse, if you thought that was hard, the next part is filled with scripted events. No matter how hard I try to sneak past, it won't cut it. Before I drop down, I need to make sure the assassin isn't looking my direction. But the main issue is the Hollow Soldier. He has a lot of health, a good aggro radius, and to make things worse, there isn't many places to hide. I can't sneak past him while his back is turned either because of the hollow hanging off the side. This is also a scripted event, and he will lunge out at me when I reach a certain point. The only solution is to kill the hanging hollow beforehand. However, doing this will generate enough noise to aggro the Hollow Soldier, so somehow I have to kill the Hollow Soldier at the bottom of the stairs before dealing with the hanging hollow. Luckily, there is a safe place to hide near the stairs, but actually killing the Hollow Soldier is a different problem altogether. By using the Claymore combined with a charged attack before he turns around, the hitbox will barely clip him, and I do mean barely. It's more precise than it looks, and it is very difficult to get consistently. After that, I use a black firebomb to kill the hanging hollow. It's worth noting that regular firebombs don't do nearly enough damage, so you need to select the starting gift of black firebombs for this run to be possible. Once I get past the hanging hollow, I have yet another scripted event with the transforming Pus of Man. Once I set foot here, he will aggro even if he hasn't yet transformed. However, since this is a scripted event, if I avoid the area that triggers said event, he won't aggro, even if I'm right next to him. From there, I just roll down and pay attention to the Winged Knight's patrol, simple stuff. However, after that is the most difficult part. Right outside this pathway is a crossbow hollow. I'm not sure if it's scripted or if his aggro radius is just so damn high, but the minute I barely step outside, this camping hollow will see me, and he doesn't like me. Probably because of what I did to his mom last night. I have to tippy-toe and use geometry to even be able to barely see him. He cannot be distracted with a bow due to the angle required to keep him from seeing me, meaning the only way to kill him here is with a firebomb. However, there is a wall and a mounted lantern blocking my throw, so precision is required, and messing up the throw is very easy. Black firebombs will be necessary for other areas in this run, so I can't afford to waste even one of them, or the run will become impossible. I had to reload a copious amount of times to successfully pull this off, made worse because I had to redo everything the first time I got there due to a mistake I made. Now we create a backup save. And not a backup save of Dark Souls 2 this time, instead of Dark Souls 3 because they're right next to each other. The last enemy in the way is also a scripted event, but I can just kill him with a firebomb and be done with it. From here, I just drop down, take a copious amount of fall damage, then sneak past the patrol to fight Vort. Oh, did I say fight? Sorry, I meant to take out all of my pent-up rage on a moving punching bag. He never stood a chance. Okay. Finally. Oh, thank God that shit's over. Alright. So you know all that fun stuff I had to get through to kill Vort? Well, I have to do it all over again to get the banner. I tried to see if sneaking past the Hollow Soldiers would be feasible, but due to the angle and my current damage, it doesn't seem like it's a feasible solution. Which leads me to have to redo trying to kill this annoying Hollow and having to use another 2 black firebombs. Not to mention just how annoying getting the correct angle for this crossbow hollow is. Of course, the suffering isn't quite over. To get to Emma, I have to get past these 2 patrolling knights, which to all of my testing doesn't seem to be possible, so I have to take yet another side route. By waiting for this knight to reach the end of his patrol pattern and then using an underutilized feature of the bow, I can sneak past. Fun fact! Arrows, when they hit a surface, make some noise. If enemies are near enough, they will turn to face the direction of that noise for a couple seconds. This is a technique that I'll be using throughout the entire run. Of course, it has a lot of downsides, like requiring constant re-inputs. And I do mean constantly. But I eventually get past him without wasting all my ammo, and with a little bit of patience, I safely grab the banner before warping out.
It's been 8 hours of testing, routing, and attempting this challenge to even get past the high wall of Lothric.
I could have beaten this game 4 times already by now, but here I am, trying to stealth a Dark Souls game. I'm totally mentally stable. Why do you ask? Okay. To get past this area, we have a grand total of 2 alluring skulls and 3 black fire bombs to work with. Oh.
Yeah, fuck you too.
So I can obviously... Where did the dude go? Good question, where the f did the dude go? Do a little bit of a... Oh. How much damage are we looking at? Almost a 1 shot, but he didn't aggro? Is he dumb? Is he actually dumb? Yeah, sure, whatever. Far be it from me to question why a man disappeared into nothingness, but I still have no clue how it happened. Not sure why the game shits itself, but it is what it is. I don't know. If anyone has an explanation, please tell me. I do some more testing around the Undead Settlement, but it seems that any further progress will be impossible without more damage. But to that end, how do I acquire it? My options are rather limited, but the best method is either to grab more gear or to just level up. Thus, I've gotten to the point of the run where things are about to get minorly silly. The first step is to get the longbow. This is not only a higher damaging weapon, but also one with a stronger weapon art and higher range, allowing sniping from previously impossible places. However, the longbow is heavily protected across a route with seemingly no places to hide. The route is overlooked by a crossbow hollow that's sitting down. He is also a scripted event, but I can use that to my advantage. By walking up right here, I can clip into his event radius and trigger him to stand up. However, since I am behind a wall, he can't see me, and I can safely get rid of him. Patrolling the area is 2 dogs and a halberd hollow. The axe hollow will occasionally make his way up, but overall I can ignore him. By dropping down to the side, the dogs will ignore me while I'm behind the railing. However, I can't stay there forever or the halberd hollow will aggro eventually. Conversely, up ahead by hiding in this corner, I won't aggro the halberd hollow. However, in this position, the dogs will see me this time, so I have to find a way to either time things perfectly or just get rid of one of the groups. But that's not the end of the problem. Even further ahead lies another camper hollow with insane aggro radius. Unlike the previous ones, there's no way to angle a black firebomb to kill him, so I'll need to distract the enemy somehow. However, the arrows don't create enough noise for the hollow to look. So, is this run impossible because of this spawn camping little shit? Not quite. This is where the soul arrow will finally come in. You see, every projectile in Dark Souls creates a different level of noise. Arrows are useful in general, but as you can see, there are some situations where it's useless. Soul arrow, on the other hand, is loud. Really loud. Louder than this hollow's mother last night. Even when fired from a distance, it will make most enemies look to wherever you fired the arrow. However, there are some limitations that make it worse than regular arrows that will become apparent later, but for now, all that matters is it makes what was previously impossible, possible. Lastly, there's a scripted pus of man that can just be headshot, so long as I don't get too close to him. And of course, there's still the matter of actually doing it. Kobe! Welcome to another day of this bull.
Keep on walking, buddy. I'm sneaking here.
Alright. Just to be safe, though. Just need to grab this. Took so long for that. However, even with the longbow, I can't one-shot these dudes. It's definitely improved, but still not enough. Now, I could grind for souls, but that's boring. Instead, I engage in what I call skill-based grinding. known more commonly as the soul duplication glitch. This might be familiar to you if you watched my previous challenge where I attempted a bow-only run without using arrows in Dark Souls 3, but the simple explanation is that this is a difficult skill-based glitch that allows me to use as many boss souls as I want. Also, for some reason, this glitch doesn't work with the short bow. Either that, or it's just much harder to perform using the short bow, so the long bow is required for this glitch. I need to have more decks to acquire enough damage for the upcoming segments, which is why I'm doing it. Unfortunately, I only have Vort's boss soul right now, so it is going to take a while. Beats grinding, at least. Well, surely I'll be able to one-shot these enemies now. Hey look, another crossbow hollow. You know, I feel like there's something about the rule of thirds that I'm forgetting about here. Besides having to get past these guys again, there's a huge issue. The Lothric Knight. No matter what I seem to try, the patrol path of this Lothric Knight will always seem to catch me. Due to all of the furniture in the room, there's less places to safely sneak past, and arrows don't distract him long enough. But when I try to use Soul Arrow... I was not aiming at him. F you, game. That's not what I was aiming at the wall, game! You see, Soul Arrow has some tracking on it, making it quite useless in enclosed spaces for this run. This oddly competent Lothric Knight also seems to have a higher aggro radius than normal, because I tried multiple different pathings and kept seeing if maybe I just needed more practice with the arrow method. But no matter what I tried, I ended up getting detected eventually. I tried various corners and observed his pathings. This continued for hours, until I tried something very stupid. Introducing the zigzag method. By running to this corner and quitting out, you reset the position of enemies to normal. Since the Lothric Knight's pathing starts here, this gives me enough time to run to the other corner without him spotting me. And for some ungodly reason, he won't notice you when you stand in this corner. You know what? I just take those, let's not question it. Around the corner is another hollow, but he can just be sniped. The real issue is these guys. Sneaking past them is an impossible task, so I need to find a way to eliminate them all. The first step is eliminating the hollows overlooking the area so I can focus on the hollows at the ground floor. Luckily for me, OSHA doesn't exist in Dark Souls. And neither does the Geneva Convention. Allowing me to grab the cell key with minimal issues. All that's left is to save Grey Rat himself. I really hope those are explosive barrels. They are! How nice. How convenient. How very convenient. I f***ing know you. I've played these games before. Maybe if I just do this. Here. You're free now. Yep. After doing some mild skill-based grinding, I claim my reward. Higher damaging arrows, and cheaper firebombs from Grey Rat. Quite useful. With new arrows in hand, I decide to test what the next area will be like. Here's a quick summary of my findings. The standard arrows will help me one-shot the normal enemies, but there's also a ton of other issues. Enemies outside my bow's effective range and high-health enemies that are in tight spaces will cause me a lot of problems. Oh, and the fact that fire arrows are completely useless. Despite them being way more expensive, they suck, so just buy standard arrows. All of this to say that the next area seems impossible at first glance. Well, before I commit, I first want to try another route. By repeating the same steps as before, I can head back to where Emma is. By killing her, you can trigger the Dancer's boss fight. Mind you, killing Emma does not count as aggroing an enemy since she never turns hostile. By quitting out when it starts and performing some mild fogball shenanigans, you can enter Dancer's boss arena without aggroing her, making this one of the few bosses that can actually be truly stealthed. Not required for this run, mind you, but I felt since it was thematic, I might as well show you. I've also been wanting an excuse to try out this glitch for a while, but no run I did had a reason that this would be required. So, now I did it. I rate this glitch 6.9 out of 10, would glitch again. Watching the dancer take arrows to the skull is very amusing to me. Okay, I'm in Lothric Castle. Now what? As great as being in Lothric Castle is, getting past these guys is nigh impossible. On the left-hand side, we have Sir Chonkus, who, despite having an attention span of a toddler, is a decent guard, only because I can't sneak past him without touching the guy due to him being horizontally gifted. As for the castle itself, getting past the Lothric Knights is surprisingly easy. However, the buffing hollows have insanely high aggro radius, and even if they won't attack me, they definitely see me. So getting past the castle is impossible for now. So back to the Undead Settlement I go. I've delayed facing this area long enough. Buckle up, because this area is a doozy. Starting off, there are 2 patrolling hollows that can be avoided by hiding behind this tree stump. Ahead, there's a thrall overlooking me, but won't aggro unless I go to the right. On the balcony, I need to jump off before the patrolling hollow notices me. On the ground, I can eliminate the majority of the hollows safely, but I need to be careful not to trigger the Evangelist because she has a higher aggro radius than you might think. Even if I go around the Evangelist, there are multiple patrols that I need to watch out for. But by camping near the end of their path, I can safely snipe them. Same with the other hollows. These 2 thralls can't be snuck up on, but they can be safely sniped, leading to the big issue of going down this path. The hollow on crack and the caged hollows. Because of how narrow the corridor is, there isn't enough space to sneak past, and if I stick to the corners, I'll aggro the caged hollows. The crack hollow can't be one-shot either. So is there no way past him? Not quite. By dropping down, it will trigger the crack hollow's walk path, but there's a side door that I can open that will lead me back to the hole in the floor. From here, I just have to wait until he goes past it so I can safely drop down behind him and run to freedom. From here, I just roll down past the side route to claim the last Titanite shard needed to upgrade my longbow to +2. I got a Titanite shard as a luck-based drop from one of the hollows earlier this challenge, which is why I can upgrade a bit early. But technically, if things are really desperate, you can always grind for Titanite shards, although personally I just hate grinding, in case you couldn't tell. With a +2 longbow, I'll now be able to one-shot more enemies. But let me get back to the matter at hand. There's 2 ways to progress through this area. However, the easiest way for this challenge is through here, by sniping these 2 patrolling hollows again. Once I head inside, there are 2 sleeping hollows that need to be sniped. These guys are also scripted encounters that will lunge at me if I'm even remotely near them. Headshotting them isn't possible, so I'm forced to pull a Miyazaki and shoot them in the feet. Which also somehow works. Up ahead is another scripted encounter with a high health enemy that can't be one-shot. This may seem impossible right off the bat, but if I inch forward, I can trigger the scripted event without ever aggroing the enemy, which is a very strange sight to say the least. Pro tip? Give up on using soul arrows. It causes nothing but misery. By using arrows, I can safely distract him. However, unlike other enemies, he actually moves when he turns to face the arrow. So if I don't pay attention, I can end up in a situation where I'm stuck. It's not easy, but by being creative with arrow placement, you can manipulate him into position where you can safely sneak past. Or alternatively, just shoot the boxes to make enough noise for him to investigate the corner. It took me way longer than I wished. Bah. In the next area, the main issue is the hollow on top that throws the firebombs. Since he has an insanely high aggro radius, by counting when he aggroes in relation to the amount of stones on the bridge, I found out he aggroes after the 5th stone, giving me a reference point on where is safe to stand. Luckily for me, that's enough range for me to one-shot him with a headshot, although it is a difficult shot to make. Down below, the 2 hollows need to be killed in advance. For some reason, the longbow's weapon art does not work well with going down, but by being patient and hitting the headshots, I can safely make my way down without aggroing any enemies. The next encounters are especially rough. To start with, the hollow potholders. I can snipe them from a distance, but they have way too much health and will aggro from that. Since they are a scripted event, you can't distract them with arrows or alluring skulls. At least not safely. I legitimately have no clue how to get past these guys, so let's examine the last enemy in my way, the Outrider Knight. And this guy is rough. He won't be distracted by anything. Arrows, soul arrows, alluring skulls, absolutely nothing. I can't walk by him safely on either side because he will notice and will aggro. There's no safe hiding spots or methods to get around him, no way to distract him, and no escape. A well and truly impossible encounter. Where's your motivation? This challenge isn't over until I say it is. There is one last gimmick item that I haven't used yet, the young white branches. By repeating the same route as last time up to here, I encounter two enemies in my way, a patrolling hollow that has to be headshot due to his larger health pool, and an evangelist with a high aggro radius that needs to be distracted. The actual positioning and execution is a bit difficult, but by using Soul Arrow at a correct angle, I can distract the evangelist long enough to sneak past. Since I'm embered, I do have to make sure to take the side route to light the bonfire, and then jump off the cliff to remove my embered status, that way Maidenless Hodrick won't invade me. I managed to sneak past the big hollow by climbing on this hill and waiting for the patrol route. But the real problem lies here. It seems that I can't get to the tree that has what I need, due to being shot at by the giant. And without the branches, this run may be impossible. So is there anything I can do? Wait a minute. Let me read the rules again. Without aggroing in... Aha! Enemies! The giant up there isn't an enemy. After all, he says it best. He helps anytime. It's not his fault he has trouble telling friend from foe at a longer distance. Taking friendly fire damage from the giant archer is not considered aggroing an enemy due to him not being an enemy. Just someone that needs a better scope. After all, everyone shoots their friend in the leg on occasion, just normal friend stuff. Right, Pichu? After that, I'm able to test my theory. Normally, when you get past the midway point on the bridge, these two guys are scripted to throw their pots at you. However, what happens if there's nobody for the potholes to throw their pots at? Well, by disguising yourself and going past the threshold, it will trigger them to throw their pots. But with nobody to throw their pots at, they will run around like a bunch of crack addicts trying desperately to find you. Of course, they won't. So long as I take my time and move when they aren't looking, I can sneak past the scripted event, and they will still run around like a bunch of headless chickens trying to relieve their agony. But it will never come. They will be running around with the urge to throw their pot, with no relief for the rest of eternity. I make sure to talk with the friendly giant and go back down to the last enemy. He won't be distracted by any noise, and there's no way to one-shot him. And you can't sneak past by walking. If the branches don't work here, then this run will be well and truly impossible. It seems this run won't end here. Not yet, at least.
Savage!
I'm almost to safety. However, the Road of Sacrifices might be the most brutal area yet, with a very narrow pathway and enemies galore. Perhaps the worst part is how much health the Corvians have, making them impossible to one-shot with my bow. Even more concerning is the high aggro radius for these enemies. It doesn't take much to be detected by one, but that's just in general. When you look into the specifics, things just get even worse. Currently, I only have 2 alluring skulls and 1 branch left. The branch would theoretically be useful, but because of how narrow the road is, I will get spotted by the enemies. In addition, the narrowness of the road also prevents using alluring skulls to distract the enemies effectively. Let me explain just how bad this actually is. The Corvian storyteller here won't move from his position. His default rest animation is looking side to side rapidly, making sneaking past him an impossibility. Although, I am unsure if that actually changes his aggro radius or if it's a purely visual effect. If you use alluring skulls to try to get him to move, all he will do is attack the alluring skull with his magic. Since the only way forward is the narrow drop down that the storyteller is overlooking, it makes getting past him impossible. He can't be killed, he can't be moved, he can't be distracted, and he is on constant vigilance. Using my last branch won't help me get past him either, because the 2 Corvians that are beside him will spot me. The only way to sneak past is by hugging this right wall, but that's only once the 2 Corvians near him have been killed. Since the 2 Corvians are next to each other, you can't safely backstab one without aggroing the other, and you also can't distract them long enough with arrows or skulls to use the branch and sneak past. The enemy loadout just watches over each other too well and leaves no gaps in their vision. And that's not even the worst part. Up ahead is a bridge. Getting past this seems to be impossible, but by dropping down, you can use a side path. The problem being, you still encounter 2 dogs here that will aggro immediately. The only way to avoid this is to go past the bridge before dropping down. However, this will aggro the bridge enemies if I don't use a branch. But this means I just used another branch, just to drop down. One I do not have. Then another is required to sneak past these dogs with higher health values, and to make matters even worse, the Corvian at the end will spot you if you go in front of him. However, this is the only place to safely drop down without losing my disguise, so I need to come out of disguise to kill him, and then use yet another young white branch. However, this requires a grand total of 4 young white branches. Much more than the 1 white branch I currently have. Remember when I said how important black firebombs were, and how if I wasted one, the run would become impossible? Unfortunately, it seems the only way I can get past a Corvian storyteller without aggroing enemies is by using a black firebomb. Due to its scaling, and with the addition of the fire clutch ring, I can snipe him by angling my throw properly. However, I'm already out of firebombs, and there's no easy way to acquire more. The bridge is impassable, and if I drop down, the dogs will just aggro onto me. I definitely got further than I thought was possible, but I guess this is the end. This is as far as you can get. So, at this point in the run, I took a break. I genuinely had no clue what to do from here. So I decided to just relax and go over my footage, seeing if there was something that I missed. Let's go back in time a bit, shall we? To begin with, I actually missed 1 extra white branch for some reason. I think I accidentally used one, then quit out to reload a backup save, but got distracted and forgot for some reason. What matters is now I will have 2 white branches for this operation, but I still need 2 more. The maximum I can have at this point in the game is 4. 3 from the tree, and 1 from the giant. But I need 1 to get past the Outrider Knight, and another to get past the 2 pot hollows. So after sneaking past the 2 crack hollows again, I only have 2 remaining and the 1 from the friendly giant, meaning I am already 1 short. But before I begin sneaking past the Outrider Knight, there's another fun fact about the branches the friendly giant gives you. They are infinitely replenishable so long as you can get back to him. The limitation being you can only hold 1 at a time. So why does that matter? Well, by using the branch early and then talking to him again, I can essentially enter camouflage for free. At least that was my theory. However, even when you use his branch, he won't re-give it to you until you have quit out of the game. Can't leave the branch on the ground to trick the game, and overall, no matter what I try, the game won't let me cheat the system. Which is fine. I totally didn't have a cinematic solution planned. I guess I'll just have to find another way around. Before solving that problem, there's a few enemies that need to be dealt with. By doing some more skill-based grinding, leveling, and upgrading, I can one-shot this enemy. The next step is to get rid of these 2 bird brains. By standing in this exact spot and angling my character properly, I can just barely throw an alluring skull far enough to hit a spot on the ledge that has a hitbox, while still being in a death plane. After throwing it a few times, the birds will blindly lunge at it and fall to their demise, leaving just the sorcerer. However, I still need 2 more branches. So let me tell you about the next part of my plan. By using a branch and sneaking my way past the Outrider Knight, I can make my way back up to the giant. By doing this, I will have 1 branch from the giant and 1 from the tree while being in camouflage, essentially granting me a pseudo 3rd branch. However, there's an issue. Falling from heights dispels camouflage, and I need to fall to manipulate the 2 elevators to get up there. However, if a fall is extremely small, it won't break camouflage. By tippy-toeing around the elevators, I can just barely be within the safe falling range for the white branch. By doing this, I can reclaim the additional branch from the giant and sneak past everything else to keep my disguise, and then sneak past the storyteller with 2 branches to my name. At least if this didn't happen. No clue why, but once you pass this door, the camouflage status is automatically removed. I spent extra time testing if there was some way around this, but to my knowledge, this is just completely unavoidable. My best guess is it has something to do with loading zones, but I have no way of knowing for sure. My entire plan was based around being able to get the extra branch from the giant, but because this game loves obscure shenanigans in these challenge runs, it seems to be impossible. Without that extra branch from the giant, there will be no feasible way to get past this area. Or is it? As we can see, arrows don't distract the Boreal Knight. Well, until I'm in a certain radius at least. But that begs the question, what the f just happened? Here's my guess. By being close enough to the Outrider Knight, he will start looking for me, as I noticed when I originally sneaked past him. However, since I am behind him this time, he won't notice me, meaning the Boreal Knight is actually some form of scripted event. By using arrows in this state, he will go directly towards them, allowing me free reign on how to manipulate his AI. This only works when you start from behind him, it seems, allowing me to infinitely restock all my friendly giant branches. By repeating the previous steps to remove the annoying enemies, I'm able to sneak past by hugging the wall, with 2 branches remaining. Holy f- Never in all my testing has that happened! The art of sliding!
New tech has been discovered! Fear me! That was an accident! I fear no man!
And due to an unexpected but most welcome discovery that I will 100% not be abusing later, I'm able to save another branch usage. Once past the bridge, I'm able to drop down safely, but if I don't use the branch before I move, the storyteller up there will aggro. Sneaking past the dogs goes smoothly, leaving me with just this Corvian that I need to sneakily kill. By walking down this corner and slamming my face into the wall, the enemies here won't aggro. However, to sneak past, I need to quit out since it will reset this Corvian's patrol pattern. Then, I just wait until he turns around, allowing me to walk past safely. Successfully getting past the Road of Sacrifices after 5 days of thinking, testing, researching, and re-going over my footage to finally reach the correct solution. Hey, quick interruption, but if you are enjoying this video, please consider subscribing or liking this video. It lets YouTube know my video is good, and it will let others enjoy this video, hopefully as much as you have. As a small YouTuber, it takes a long time to make a video like this. Trust me on that one, and ideally, I'd like to have even more time to devote to editing so I can create even better videos. In any case, sorry for the stereotypical YouTube interruption, back to your regularly scheduled Stealth Souls. It's good to actually be in an open area this time, so creative solutions are back on the table, with plenty of drops allowing me to quickly move across the area. However, there's a minor issue with these poison things. It's hard to tell if they've aggroed.
Are they just randomly scuttling? Did they spot me? Why does their ass look like their face?
It doesn't really matter, because I have more than enough firepower to eliminate them from a safe distance. By abusing the power of asking the friendly giant boy for more twigs, sneaking around and getting to the next bonfire isn't difficult. I then abuse the friendly giant's gift again until this hollow soldier sees me. Although he can just be distracted with arrows, allowing me access to Orbeck, where I can finally get what I've been wanting for a while. Spook. With this, after I distract enemies, I can safely run past instead of spending the next 5 minutes shimmying while constantly distracting the enemy with arrows. In case you couldn't tell, I am happy. This is my happy face. Progressing forward, crabs. They are Super Saiyans who will immediately aggro no matter where you are once you touch water. That's simply how they are. Even if you're disguised or make zero noise, you have entered their domain and they are ready to shove their claws up your ass. So just like a Valorant player, if I make contact with water, I'll die. Right, Pichu? Seriously, I still don't know how to get past these crabs. This part requires quite simple tech, really. I use Soul Arrow and arrows to distract and gradually move past, then use the branch to sneak past this portion, leading straight to Tweedledum and Tweedledummer. And these guys are absolute pricks. I have to get close enough to proc their patrol before doing anything, and Alluring Skulls won't work because they ate way too much sugar and absolutely just spin and go ballistic. At some point in that process, they see me, and when the skull wears off, they come over to beat my ass. So Alluring Skulls are unreliable, and since their aggro radius is so ungodly high, using arrows and soul arrows to get past them is difficult. Which begs the question, is this impossible, or is it just a timing issue? How long do I beat my head against this brick wall until I either give up or find the perfect combination that allows me to sneak past? The answer is quite long. Of the many hours I spent hoping for good RNG and testing, I only succeeded twice. And both were iffy in different ways. The first time I snuck past, Tweedledum here heard something and smacked in my direction. I don't think it classifies as aggro, but it's still iffy to me. My only other successful attempt is when I threw multiple Alluring Skulls, then used a branch. It takes luck to get it to work, and is also iffy considering there's no way of knowing if they saw me and aggroed while spinning to attack the skull. So take your pick of which one feels right. I'm done with this segment. As for the swamp, I encountered the same problem with the slugs as I did with the mushrooms. Are they facing me? Did they aggro? I can't tell. Their face still looks like their ass, and they move so slow. They can be safely killed with firebombs or arrows from a large distance, so it's not really a concern. By using the quick-step dagger and slowing down where the grooves are, I can throw firebombs at them and safely make my way around. By throwing a firebomb at these slugs, I can get 2 more bonfires. The standing grooves have more health than the crawling ones though, so they will be more difficult to deal with, especially since they guard the fires. But none of that matters. Up ahead is the holy grail for this run, the promise that has kept me going for this entire run, the Golden Scroll. This thing is absolutely amazing, and I'll go over the numerous benefits later. But there's a huge problem. Guarding this scroll is a bunch of basilisks. And for whatever reason, basilisks in Dark Souls 3 have an aggro radius that's beyond even your lock-on radius. By almost double. Seriously, just look at that. How the hell do they see me from there? And there are numerous basilisks guarding it, each facing in a different direction. I can't get close enough to distract with soul arrows, and using constant arrows to distract wouldn't work because of their aggro radius. The only way past is to either kill them at an insane distance, which is impossible due to their high health, or to sneak past them, However, even when I'm disguised, the basilisks are just too many and have too large aggro radiuses to sneak past. Combined with their overlapping sight, no matter what I do, stealth seems to be impossible. Not to mention the poison that is slowly killing me. Meaning that this scroll may be impossible to acquire. Or is it? This seemingly random sequence of events has meaning. Because for the next step, I need to progress Grey Rat's questline. I need something that does high damage over a long range. My best option, the Millwood Greatbow, is unobtainable, so there is only one option left that will work. By killing the Crystal Sage, I can progress Grey Rat's questline to the point where he sells these lightning urns. They are quite weak on their own, but have amazing faith scaling. Which means the cost of my victory comes at a measly 4 million souls. Even by using the bow glitch, this is a long grind. So to make it quicker, I decide to kill the Stray Demon. And before you say, isn't Stray Demon an enemy? Well, even if he doesn't have a boss health bar, he still drops a boss soul. One that is worth twice as much as the dancers for some reason, but who am I to question Miyazaki's decisions? Point being, you can beat this run without fighting Stray Demon if you want to consider him an enemy, but him dropping a boss soul makes him at least not count as an enemy in my opinion. After he is dead, all I have to do is use the bow glitch until I have 4 million souls. Or just perform the glitch 200-ish times. A difficult, skill-based glitch that is easy to mess up and takes a while to learn, mind you. And with all of these souls, I am going to level up Faith, of all things. You see, earlier I was able to buy 6 lightning urns from Patches. Since they are in a swamp, they will be taking increased lightning damage because they are standing in water. Combine that with the S scaling and faith these pots have, and I should have enough damage to kill the basilisks. But that doesn't solve the range problem. Have you ever heard of physics? Probably not, because neither has Miyazaki. Sorry, I meant 5 million souls. Oh, for f***'s sake. Oh, my bad, I must have misspoken. 6 million souls, I mean. Who am I to question why this works? All that matters is, for whatever reason, it does. All it cost was 6 million souls and 95 faith and hours of skill-based grinding. Why can't I ever play this game normally for once? With that, I have finally acquired the Dragon Warrior Scroll, and with it, infinite power. Among all the useful spells at my disposal, one stands out above all others. The Hidden Body spell. And to make matters even better, after buying some spells, Wilhelm will give me a ring that masks my noise. With this, all the power in the world is at my fingertips. I have become death. Invisibility at long last. With this, there aren't many things that can stop me. It's not complete or perfect invisibility, but for what it is, it's pretty damn good. The biggest limitation being how many times it needs to be reapplied with a time limit of 15 seconds. Around 20-ish seconds if I go out of my way to grab the lingering Dragon Crest ring. All that I need to do is reapply it before it runs out, and keep a metric ton of Ashen Estus on me. However, I'm just glad that it works in the first place. It's important to keep in mind that the Hidden Body spell essentially just reduces the aggro radius for most enemies. Some enemies won't notice you until you're practically breathing down their neck, while others still have a decent circle around them that can't be entered. Since it varies enemy by enemy, the best rule of thumb is to just give them as wide of a berth as possible. But even with that limitation, the power of this spell is still staggering. The entirety of the swamp, barely an inconvenience. The Abyss Watchers, sweet revenge after what they did to me last time. The Catacombs of Karthus, smooth sailing with the exception of those skeletons, which are a scripted event. One that can also be stealthed if I just don't set foot near the bridge. Which was a simpler solution than I thought it would be, but I don't question these things. And Wolnir, well, Wolnir is Wolnir. But not everything can go smooth. On the bridge leading to Irithyll, there is a Sullivan Beast. It's a scripted encounter, and no matter what I do, he will always appear. Invisibility won't work, and neither will camouflage. Distracting him is also impossible because he aggroes the moment he appears. But why is that? For some reason, there are enemies in Dark Souls 3 that completely ignore invisibility and other forms of stealth. Most of the time, it's probably for game balance purposes since it tends to occur on tougher enemies, but it's more of a rule of thumb than a direct pattern. This wouldn't be a challenge run without constant issues, I suppose, but this is the only entrance into Irithyll, and it's required to progress further into this game. Since the Sullivan Beast can't be stealthed past, I'd have to skip past him. There is a ladder storage glitch that allows you to fall through the bridge here, but that requires aggroing the Sullivan Beast, making this run impossible. I got farther than I thought I would, but ending here? To something like this? It's just not my style.
Tell me, do you know what it feels like? What it means to accomplish the impossible? I ran and wandered this world to a place that has only ever known the cold for the answer to my question, but none came. In desperation, or perhaps seeking a higher order of truth, I claimed the Braille divine tomb of Karim. The ancient art of the teardrop is a well-known one, but one that is long lost to previous realities. The power it has now is but a fragment of what it once was. But perhaps it can be restored, if only for a moment. And in this ravine lies the hanging body of a once blessed man, and on him is a shield, one that can break the fabrics of reality itself. The last requirement is simply for me to gain more power to use these relics of yore. Perhaps victory will grace me with its presence at last.
Where the am I? What the is going on? I was not prepared for this. Ah, shit! Oh, okay, where the am I? It seems I have arrived in a place that's neither here nor there, but rather a place in between called Invisible Wall. Let me out of here. Why am I still here? Just to suffer? I'm in the walls, I'm in the walls, I'm still in the walls. Ah! Shit. Okay, maybe I just need momentum first?
Smoking sexy style!
I'm sure you're wondering how or why that glitch works, and I would love to answer you, but I barely understand its mechanics myself. With the Sullivan Beast problem solved, I can get back to terrorizing the local hollow population. The rest of Irithyll is nothing to write home about. although the dog enemies still have a good aggro radius even when I'm invisible. As for Pontiff Sullivan, he doesn't scare me. I currently have more than enough faith to become the Pope if I really felt like it. And surely Anor Londo will provide some challenge. Nope. Still easy. Kind of like Sullivan's mother. The upper levels of Anor Londo don't prove to be any different either, with the sole exception of having to go down the right side because the deacons on the left will aggro otherwise. As for Aldrich, I took the liberty of stealthing him as well. And definitely not because I hate fighting him. Look, it's thematic for this run, please stop judging me. At long last, Lothric Castle. This previously impossible place is now much easier with the help of invisibility. Although the crossbow hollows still have decent aggro radius, it's nothing that can't be solved with the classic bow tech. Simply distract them before removing their spine. Arriving at the dragon barracks, there's of course the problem of, the dragons. After shooting them once, it procs the others to arrive. While this is a scripted encounter, interestingly enough, this dragon seems to be different from the one in Highwall, because from this distance, I can snipe the dragon without them spewing fire, implying a stealth kill of these guys. Again, really hard to tell aggro with these stationary scripted dragons, but this is about as good as it's ever gonna get. But the calm is always present before the storm. What the Huh? For whatever reason, these hollows have mad insight. Or someone just forgot to code them properly. Because they ignore invisibility for whatever reason. Which wouldn't be a huge issue if their aggro radius wasn't off the charts as well. Not quite sure what to think about the weakest enemy in Lothric Castle having demigod level eyesight. So instead, I just make my way through Earldil Dungeon, only to find yet another scripted event. Just lovely. I do some more testing with very inconclusive results, but I'm pretty sure he will aggro whenever you cross the threshold up to a certain point. Arrows won't distract him since he is a scripted event, and overall my options seem to be limited. Although, I at least have a solution for this problem. Have you ever heard of the bazooka of Dark Souls 3, the Millwood Great Bow? If you have, forget about it. The big doggo protecting it sees through invisibility, so that's out the window. Fun fact, did you know jumping out the window is called the fenestration? That's my favorite word. That's a good word to learn in 2026. There's only one great bow that I can successfully acquire, the Dragon Slayer Great Bow. The real problem, though, is getting enough upgrade materials for the bow to be useful. I'm gonna take this moment to say happy early birthday to Dark Souls 3, which will be a 10-year-old game soon after this video is released. Dark Souls 3 is my favorite game and will continue to be, and I don't really know where I'd be without it. So I wanted to do a special video for it. It's gotten me through a lot of tough times in my life, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video so far as much as I enjoy Dark Souls 3. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. After all of that, I effectively send that thing to the afterlife. Overkill is underrated after all. And to avoid dealing with the jailers, I use a speedrunning technique to skip the rest of Earldil Dungeon. But up ahead is yet another scripted encounter. This time with a stone gargoyle.
Look at him wandering around. He's just going in circles. He don't know what he's doing. He barely paid minimum wage. Is look the other way long enough for me to sneak past? This is gonna be a pain in the ass, huh? Surprise. Not enough. Okay.
Great. The classic problem of narrow passageway, chonky enemy.
At least I don't have to worry about invisibility not working or scripted shenanigans, but this is pretty bad. Because of how much space the gargoyle takes up, it's quite impossible to squeeze past, or at least that's what my testing suggests. Which means I'm back to the problem of how to get past these demigod hollows.
This is the most difficult mission yet, Agent Blue Thunder. In this room are genetically modified hollows the enemy has been experimenting on. They may look normal or weaker compared to other enemies, but they have been designed specifically to counteract you. These hollows could be hiding anywhere. They have an unnaturally high detection radius and see through all forms of invisibility. The only way to defeat them is to kill them from a long distance away. However, this will be difficult, considering you are surrounded by them. If anyone can accomplish this mission, I know it's you. Good luck, Blue Thunder. The fate of the world lies in your hands.
In this area, there are 3 groups of hollows that can see through invisibility. The 2 scripted hollows at the top of this ladder, the 3 hollows at the top, and the 2 around the corner here. The latter hollows can be safely sniped, but when it comes to the other 2 groups, the solutions aren't nearly as simple. The group of 3 will aggro once I pass this point in the stairs, and if I stand outside their aggro radius, I also don't have enough range to mortar them with my firebombs, meaning there's only one place to safely do it. Right here on the first few steps on these stairs. The extra height will allow my firebombs to go further. Of course, while I'm standing here, the other group of 2 hollows will slowly come out and eventually aggro onto me, meaning I'm on a time limit. What makes things even worse is the throw itself is completely blind. I can't see the hollows, so it's more of a throw and pray scenario. But theoretically, if I can experiment and predict the trajectory of the firebombs, I can eventually become fast enough to safely kill the group of 3 before the other hollow group aggros onto me. And I have to do all of this while keeping up my invisibility to prevent the other enemies from aggroing. It's far from easy. In fact, I wasn't sure how possible it would even be, but it at least gives me some chance at success.
For once in my life, I'm free from the tyranny of those assholes over there. Hallelujah. Take me to the last bonfire. Thank goodness. Holy.
Whew, okay, that was a lot.
In any case, I finally grabbed the red tearstone ring before stealthing through to consume King's Garden without issue. And then there's Osiris.
Oh no, it seems Osiris has gotten stuck by accident.
Yep, purely accidental cheese strat.
I can see you trying to judge me, but that only works if I have enough sanity left to feel shame. Your move.
With the Path of the Dragon emote acquired, I make my way past the majority of Irithil Dungeon again to enter Archdragon Peak. Yet another area that can be stealthed with relative ease. And up ahead is a very unique boss, the Ancient Wyvern. This is the only boss that has stealth portions that I need to worry about. For the most part, so long as I give a decent radius, the enemies won't aggro. However, there are 2 scripted events in this boss fight. Once you go through this doorway, 2 assassin enemies will drop down and they can aggro. And up ahead, another assassin is scripted to lunge forward. He won't aggro afterwards though, so he just looks really schizophrenic attacking nothing. For the 2 assassins, all I need to do is go forward enough to proc the scripted event, then back up before stealth killing the assassins with a charged heavy from my claymore. Everything else is pretty easy and I end up killing the Ancient Wyvern with minimal issues. This area, on the other hand, isn't that easy. These summoners are yet another enemy that ignores invisibility. From quite a large distance away, I might add. The solution? Yet another detour. Lovely. By grabbing these Undead Hunter Charms, then heading back to Lothric Castle, I can drop down here and throw the Hunter Charms at this Mimic, claiming the Sunlight Straight Sword as a reward.
I typically wouldn't go out of my way to grab this, but since I already meet the faith requirement, I might as well. The weapon art increases my damage by roughly 11%, allowing my great bow to do enough damage to one-shot the summoner enemies. Alright, the rest of the area. Aside from even more scripted events that just makes the enemy look extremely schizophrenic, there isn't much to see. This all changes near the rock lizards though. There's a scripted dragon encounter, and unlike the other dragons, I can actually fight him on the ground. This means he actually has a moveset and doesn't just attack the ground, which is actually refreshing for once. Meaning he is definitely an enemy, and he definitely saw me. There's no way past him that I can think of, so for now, getting to the Nameless King is impossible for this run. Before I leave, I grab some Twinkling Titanite I missed in the Ancient Wyvern's Arena, then grab some at the bottom of the ditch in the Dragon Barracks. For fun, I decide to fight the Dragon Slayer. And by fight, I mean totally and utterly humiliate. With that, I upgrade my Great Bow to +4 and confront the Stone Gargoyle yet again. With RTSR, Sunlight Oath, and a +4 Great Bow, surely I can win. Nope. Not even close. I need about twice as much damage. So what? Is this run impossible? Not quite. I discovered this accidentally, and I'm still not sure exactly what changed between now and then, but by shooting from far enough away, he won't aggro. He will certainly look in your direction, but considering he isn't actively charging and moving towards my location, I think it's pretty safe to say I've avoided aggroing him, and it's more of a must-have-been the wind situation. There's also another way to get around him that leaves less room for interpretation that I thought of later, but that's getting into spoiler territory. At long last, I've finally arrived at the next bonfire. Ah, lovely. Just wonderful. Yet another enemy that ignores invisibility from an impossibly long distance. Thank you, Miyazaki. Just what I wanted to deal with today. Or is it an enemy? After all, what's shooting me is the chalice thing, right? Isn't that more environmental damage than enemy? That's what I would love to think. But by going down and killing this enemy, then going back up, the fireballs stop. This implies that it is actually the enemy controlling the chalice, and thus counts as enemy aggro. So there goes that excuse. So the only way past is to somehow kill the enemy from this distance. Something that is easier said than done. To the point where I don't think one-shotting the jailer is even possible with glitches. We're just too far away. Well, killing them may be impossible, but do I even need to kill them? For whatever reason, if the one at the back is staggered, say shot from 10 miles away with an Oni Slayer arrow, the chalice will not shoot fireballs at me. It's a bit of an iffy solution. After all, it's hard to tell if an enemy is aggroed when they are barely within render distance. But I think it's probably safe to say he didn't see me. The rest of the area can be stealthed with zero issues before arriving at Yorm. Man, am I glad to see you. It's been so long since we last talked. Do you mind if I tell you about my day? Good talk, man. Good talk. It's time for the final stretch. If I manage to get to the Twin Princes, I'm home free. Of course, I'm still gonna try my luck at the DLCs after defeating Soul of Cinder, but that's a later problem. The Grand Archives prove disappointingly easy. Until the second half, at least. I don't know why, but although the Crystal Sage won't aggro in the first encounter, he certainly will in the second. And that's from quite a distance, mind you. This seems unavoidable, so my only option lies in killing him in the first encounter. But I don't have nearly enough damage to do that. But in times like these, I remember the words of a great man. Each asshole fall yours. You know, why didn't I think of that sooner?
Eat shit, asshole.
And, that's it. All methods have been revealed, all problems solved. Any enemy that can be afflicted with toxic can be cheesed once invisibility has been acquired. Same goes with Pestilent Mist. If an enemy does not ignore invisibility, it is as good as dead. Simple as that. I just didn't want to use Pestilent Mist because it would require another 5 hours of skill-based grinding to get to the required int level. It's been a pretty great journey thus far, but once you get invisibility, most of this challenge is just avoiding scripted encounters and enemies that can see through invisibility. Honestly, I am surprised that this run is even possible. At so many points, I thought that it would finally be the end, that I would have to end the video there. But despite it all, I finally made it. Granted, there were definitely moments that were a little iffy, but that's expected for a run like this. If people think that those few moments invalidate the run, I won't judge them for it. But for how hard the challenge is, I doubt anyone else can improve my routing significantly. But if someone does manage to do some more research and solve the iffy segments, please let me know. I would love to see how you got around what stumped me. But if you agree with my reasoning on the most part, then that means I have successfully beaten Dark Souls 3 without aggroing any enemies. The first ever stealth-only run of Dark Souls 3. But with the Soul of Cinder now dead, it leaves me but one place to go. Canada. I'm glad to return to Canada. Since the snow is already pretty heavy, going invisible makes you practically undetectable here. Except for the ear rape crows. This seems to also be scripted, but by playing Where's Waldo and shooting all of these crows, well, almost all of them. Seriously, it's really hard to tell which ones are alive or dead. After spraying and praying, I managed to sneak past without irreparable ear damage. Or is it irreparable? The annoying crow assassins won't notice me either, and overall getting to the next bonfire is easy. As for getting to Wilhelm, by using a minor skip here, I don't have to worry about this area, allowing me to get to him safely. Unfortunately, as much as I tried to cope, Wilhelm definitely sees me. He is a scripted event that can't be stealthed. Not really much I can do about this, I suppose. Since Wilhelm is a required fight to progress in this DLC, that means the Ashes of Ariandel is impossible to stealth. Or is it? Well, that's more of a problem for later me. What about the other DLC? When it comes to the Dreg Heap, things go surprisingly well. Besides this one enemy here that I need to snipe, I can just stealth past the other enemies without issue, just by keeping my distance. Even the angels won't aggro onto me, which actually came as a big surprise because I had fully planned on them seeing through my invisibility. Not that I'm questioning it, it just means less problems for me to worry about. Like the twin demon princes. They're dead. Oh, they're alive again now! And now he's dead again. Which leaves just the Ringed City welcome. I'm sure that person over there is a perfectly calm and reasonable individual, and that we can talk things out. Do you think he saw me? That was very rude of you. Well, back to the Ariandel problem. Wilhelm obviously can't be stealthed, so I'll just have to skip him instead. By using ladder storage, then running into this corner here and jumping... Hold on. Okay, just give me a minute. It looked so easy when Distortion 2 did it. This glitch seems to be primarily about positioning, so after a bit of experimenting, I managed to get something that worked for me, allowing me to once again go through walls, and successfully open the shortcut. As for unlocking Freed, after getting near the wheel, I need to shoot all the patrolling fly things so they won't aggro while I'm turning the wheel. With that, the Painted World DLC can be successfully beaten without aggroing any enemies. Okay, Editor Blue Thunder here. I just realized I forgot to talk about how I obtained the shield ring. Basically, I got curious and found out by headshotting the guy, it will trigger him to run up towards his secondary position.
He doesn't seem to notice me since he just runs past, so I don't think he aggroed, but it's not like the shield ring is necessary. Just another interesting Dark Souls freaking out scenario that I wanted to mention. I also have a theoretical route that I'm planning out that would make a run without aggroing bosses as well possible, but I do need a way to bypass Yorm and a way to obtain the Millwood Greatbow. If you have any ideas for solutions, I would love to know, but in any case, back to the video.
Well, Pichu, I came pretty far. How about you act as bait for this guy? What do you think about that? Where did he go? He was there a minute ago.
Oh shit, he's breached containment! So, this dude, Minister Judicator asshole over there, will see me from an impossibly long distance away. Which leaves me with only one option. Sniping him from even further away by using Oni Slayer Great Arrows and the Hawk Ring. I can see that my arrows still don't hit him. Well, what about the Oni Slayer Great Bow then? With the same setup, this is the absolute maximum range a Great Bow can get, and it's still not enough. Keep in mind, all of this is theoretical. I still have no clue if acquiring these weapons is actually possible. There is one more thing to try, the Black Bow of Ferris. This is the highest range of all the bows. Combine this with the Hawk Ring and Feather Arrows, and you have created the highest range weapon possible. If this won't hit, then nothing will. And with that, the Ring City is impossible. There's nothing I can do. Or is it? And I think this time, the answer is no. If you enjoyed this video, please check out my others. I put a great deal of effort into those as well, and it helps YouTube know my content is good. I recommend my bow only without arrows if you like this video, or my No Rune of Elden Ring for a similar cinematic experience. With that, until I see you next time, don't you dare go hollow.